Hello everyone, welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club, the place where we all get together to share our thoughts and opinions on some books that either ourselves or you guys choose. And it's going to be a good one today. We're still on Batman month, and this week we are reading Batman Year 1 from Frank Miller, art by David Mazzucchelli, coloured by Richmond Lewis and lettered by Todd Klein. My name is Scott, and I am joined by the boys as usual. First up, we've got Shane.
Ahoy, hoy.
And then we got Phil.
Hola.
There we go. And let's go ahead and say hi to everyone we got in the chat so far as well. So we got Martin here. Evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. We got Kevin. Right, here we go. Hi, diddly ho, neighborinos. That's Ned Flanders, right?
Yeah.
Highland G. Hey, everyone. Hey, buddy. Thank you for joining. Connie, what's up, party people? Hello. Mark Aldroyd's here. Evening, Nerdhood. Evening, Mark. Hope you're doing well. Pete's here. Evening, all. And we've got Tom from This Month in Movies. Evening, all. Hope you are well. Great pick, lads. And we've just had Job Block Comics jump in as well. Hey, guys. Hey, lads. Hey, guys. Hope you're doing well. So, synopsis time. We are reading Batman Year 1, and this was my pick for Batman month in the lead up to the Batman film. And this is a book that was reimagined by Frank Miller, where he reimagined Bruce Wayne as Batman. You know, the first year of him becoming Batman. We also got to see Catwoman's origin and how she became Catwoman and what she did during that time. And we saw Lieutenant Gordon joining and rising the ranks up in GCPD as well. It's not really much of a synopsis. It's literally what happens. But yes, so that is that. Am I missing anything? I feel like I've gone a bit quick on that.
That's kind of it, because there's not really an overarching story, is there? It's just...
No.
It's that's Batman Year 1 in its simplest form, yes. But
Yeah.
there's a lot more to the book than just that.
Yeah. Okay, well, Shane, why don't you kick us off?
I really enjoyed the Batman parts of this book. The Batman parts were fantastic, seeing him, like, you know, struggle to even just take on a group of thugs, you know, just four guys on a fire escape. You know, and he's struggling just for that because he's so new, and I thought that was great. And just everything about Batman in this book, I absolutely loved. I thought it was done so well, from his Bruce Wayne persona to his Batman persona. Fantastic, well written, well colored. It was really well done. The Batman parts of this book, yeah.
See, like, I enjoyed the Batman parts, but the story I was most invested in was Lieutenant Gordon's.
Really?
Yeah, I
That
was
part
really...
nearly put me to sleep.
Wow, okay. It shows that there's something different for everyone in this book, isn't there? Because, like, I'm not saying I didn't enjoy the Batman part. It was very cool. I think my favourite part was the when he was fighting, was it after they blew up the building? That was really cool, very, very clever there. And yeah, I just didn't really have much, I don't know, I wasn't bothered about the Catwoman sections.
No. Especially that version of her. I don't like what they did with her. The origin is not what... I don't like that origin for Catwoman. You know, like the sex worker origin. I don't like it.
Yeah, no, it's a bit... yeah, not what we know. Phil?
I mean, I think Jim Gordon kind of stole the show for me, really. I mean, I think this book is really well crafted in the fact that you've got Jim Gordon and you've got Bruce Wayne Batman kind of finding their feet to get to the point that we know them as crime fighters, and the fact that they work together. So you kind of see them growing to the point where they both are dependent on one another. Like, it's not going to work without each other. Like, they know this. Like, Gordon is being beat up by his partner, and he tries to take them down, and he gets released anyway. He needs Batman to get the crime bosses put away.
Yeah.
And Batman needs Gordon because he needs his resources. He needs to kind of like stop, attacking me with your cops, because as you can see, he's very amateur hour in this. The
Yeah.
Batman, like, he's fighting, or not fighting. Sorry, his tactics are kind of, they let him down a bit. He gets
All a
shot,
bit clumsy here and
yeah,
there.
he gets shot twice, I think, doesn't
Yeah.
he? But like, even refers to himself that he's like, he was stupid, he was an idiot going into these situations and doing what he did. He wasn't cool and calm and calculated as you think Batman should be. So I just enjoyed the idea like that these two characters kind of growing together and at the same kind of time, really, to be honest.
Yeah, I see what they were doing with that. I get the mirroring aspects of them both coming to Gotham and, becoming who we know they are. But the problem with the Gordon part for me is they made him really unlikable. I mean, you're supposed to care about the characters, especially someone who this probably isn't your first Batman book, so you probably know him as Commissioner Gordon, this really, really good police officer that wants nothing but the best for Gotham. But in this, he's cheating on his wife, and he's like, you don't really want to root for a guy like that,
I wouldn't say I was rooting for him. I just found the storyline of that to be a bit more gripping. What will happen with his relationship. After he told, the bit that got me the most was like after he told his wife, after he told Barbara, and they stayed together, and he was still fighting. When she got nearly kidnapped and the baby did get kidnapped, they were fighting for that, and it was that bit that really drew me to his character there.
But I think that loses some of the impact because she's going to stay with him because Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl, has to be born. So it
born,
lost.
Created. They should still be at it.
Well, yeah,
but that's okay. Like even though we know they're still together, it's still cool to see this little bump in the road during their relationship. Like if you meet someone and they in real life and they tell you this stuff had happened, you're not gonna you're not gonna go, oh, that's boring, that doesn't matter, because I know you're still together now. You're still gonna be like, ooh, really, that happened. And I think stuff like that, when you learn stuff about people in real life with that kind of stuff, then I think you are still interested. Yeah, and
I don't want to justify Jim Gordon's actions.
No, of course.
But there's a few things you need to think about. He's probably a little bit, I don't want to say he's depressed, but he's obviously a little bit kind of, he's war torn. He's battle ridden. He's been in the war. He's sent to Gotham. He's fighting people above him, and he's working really late nights to kind of solve crime in one of the most brutal cities possible. And he's working very closely with this detective who, again, not justifying cheating on partners, but this is how things happen, I suppose. Really, affairs will just come up like a snap of the finger. They do kind of build up, and that's the thing. They obviously were working closely together, and it was a moment of weakness, and that's why I liked about the fact that it was a moment of weakness for him, in that he obviously was. Now, he did say he was in love with her, but he was also quite apologetic that he did what he did, and he kept obviously focusing on his wife and unborn child and stuff, and again, not justifying it. I just think that it doesn't make him a dirty dog or such. It just kind of happened because of the circumstances around. Do you know what I mean?
I get it. Let's go back a little bit. First of all, Sean's in. Evening peeps, hello, thank you for joining. And Connie says, not gonna lie, until I read this book, I wasn't aware Gordon had a first name. Yeah, it's Commissioner. That's his first name. No, his name is Jim. Sean is saying, this story is all about Batman and Jim finding their feet, and then he also jumps in, and then everyone else says they couldn't stand the lettering with Batman's part. And this is something I've written down, and I feel like it's something you guys have written down as well. But Connie agrees, and Martin agrees, and Kevin agrees. Everyone, there were some words that I just couldn't tell what they were. I just kind of had it's either this word, or this word, and I'm just gonna go with that. But we do have Mark saying that he loved the lettering, different strokes for different folks. Now, I was thinking about this. Okay, this book was out in the 80s, the late 80s. My parents were born in the late 60s. They write like that writing. So I'm thinking, I think this may be a generational thing. You know, I think we're also used to now seeing fonts on our computers, and they're clear and easy to read, and the fonts that we see in comics now are clear and easy to read. And then as soon as we see some sort of handwritten cursive writing, then we're all going a bit, what the hell is that? I can't read that word. I don't know how they wrote that particular letter in this exact kind of writing.
But
just go on.
It is a generational thing, and it probably goes like we're the computer generation. Like, who writes letters nowadays? You'll even write emails. It's not even text. I don't even know what it is you do now. These kids do these days. But like back in the day of writing handwritten, like joint handwriting letters, it's just like it's like 100 years ago to me. It's nothing recent. So I agree that when you see it kind of written that way in that kind of style, it's just not what we're used to. And I'm 36, so it's not like I'm far removed from that either, but it's far enough to not get it.
Yeah. Shane, you're the oldest one.
Last time I used that was back in primary school. We were taught it, like that's how you had to write. If you didn't write joined up, you got a big red X. You had to do it. So, but I haven't done it for so long that trying to read some of these words was hard. I did what you did. Like, I'd read the entire sentence and then try and work out what that missing word was.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So what do you guys think of the art then?
Loved it.
Yeah, loved it. For me, some pages looked like a slightly better version of Mind Management. Sorry.
I feel like you read this wrong, Scott.
I think I read it upside down, is it?
Or looked at it wrong.
Scott, you read it absolutely correctly. You read it with your eyeballs like everyone else. And yes, the art is
Phil has been
great,
ill this week, so maybe that has gone in the way.
It's not. The art is wonderful because it's not. Yeah, okay. It's not going to be clean lines looking wonderful. It's not. It's not looking fluffy. The whole point in this book is a dark crime noir book, and the art style fits it perfectly. That kind of pulpy feel, that kind of even like the details in the background. So remember the scene where Bruce Wayne was walking through Gotham as a plainclothes citizen, trying to get close to his enemies and so on. Like the amount of detail, the amount of detail that, okay, it's not clean cut, but the amount of detail that's put in there, and it kind of adds to the fact that the city does look really seedy. It doesn't look like it's going to be a nice place to live. It looks like it's kind of going to be crime riddled and whatever else. And I just think the art style adds to the book. And
grittiness.
Yeah, but again, I will say the Batman. I don't think the Batman character design is my favorite in terms of it's very plain, like the grey and the black, but not like, how do you put this? He doesn't have any muscles, really, does he? He's just like Batman.
He looked like a grey and black Adam West.
Yeah,
let's all put it out there.
That's true.
Let's just say that.
But I just think the art lends itself really well to the kind of nature of the story and the title. So I loved the art. I thought it was fantastic, and the colors. And I read the original colors in my absolute edition, and I just thought it was fantastic. I loved it.
All right. Well, you've got some people agreeing with you. So you've got Mark saying the art is perfect for the story: dark, noir, gritty. Martin says the art was rough and gritty. I agree with Phil. It just works. Highland G, I like the art. It fit the tone. And Kevin, Mazzucchelli is brilliant. Phil is spot on. It's more like a crime comic over a superhero book. So maybe Shane and I were just kind of reading it with different glasses on. We were reading it with our superhero glasses on, not our crime noir.
You were concentrating too much on the joint narration as opposed to pictures. That's what you were doing.
Yeah.
I will say, background and stuff, really well done. The people, not well done at all. You can say gritty all you want. It doesn't mean good. The faces are not great. The bodies are not great. It's not good art. Just because it's gritty and it fits the tone doesn't mean it's good. I'm sorry.
There's no bad art. It's all subjective. But the thing about the art, I will agree. I didn't like Catwoman. I think she looked really ugly. I just didn't like the Catwoman design.
Yeah.
Her shoulders were too square, and she was just too masculine. You're far too masculine.
Go ahead.
Tom's saying there's nothing wrong with Adam West's Batman. I really like the story and the art style, even though I prefer more modern art styles.
back to like the Catwoman. So like we've obviously seen the trailer for the new movie, and I think this
She
is
looks
obviously
similar.
she looks very similar. So I
Yeah.
think obviously we're taking a lot from this book into this movie. But yeah, that's what whenever I was reading this today. Like you seen what's her name? It's something Kravitz, isn't it? Her name, the actress. Anyone know?
Sorry.
No,
Lenny.
but yeah, I think it's Lenny's daughter, but could be completely wrong. But yeah, it looks
Rennie?
look like her from the trailer. So yeah, I thought it was cool, but it's not the best design for Catwoman.
No, I don't think so personally. Shall we show some people what if they haven't seen the art and what it is like? So there are a few different versions of this story. Shane and we read the deluxe that was out in 2017. Phil, did you read that or did you read the originals?
I read the originals from the Absolute Edition.
So you got the original art. So like Killing Joke, there's an original art thing and there's a newer remastered one. And there's also a black and white one, isn't there? There's a black and white deluxe as well. So depending on, what kind of colouring or lack of you want to see, then there's something for everyone, I guess. But let's just show, I think we've got some different styles. Yeah, okay. So do you mind if I go with my one first to show the newer style? This is my page. So this is from the deluxe edition. This is when Batman had burst a hole into the Commissioner Loeb's wall while they were having a big dinner party, and all the lights had gone out. And I just found this page so ominous, and this, at the end there, and it's just like all that's left is fire. That's the only source of light coming in, and he just closes it down, and he's like, God knows what he does after that. But Can I also point out one thing?
Sorrow.
Does it look like Freddie Mercury at the bottom?
With the mustache, yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking Mask of Sorrow for some reason, which I think is quite poetic because Bruce Wayne and his parents were watching Sorrow at the theater whenever they were gunned down. But yeah, so I don't know why they're giving this big mustache. Obviously, it's a shadow, but I just think you could have done without that, and we would know what it is.
Or maybe a thinner one.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite page there. There was a lot of great pages in this, but I think this kind of gave me a bit of a when it all just went black at the end, and how ominous and mysterious he looks on the top panel there. Shane's pick then is the same page, and he was gonna go for the deluxe, but we thought we'd change it to the original one just to show you guys the difference when it is the same page. So here is Shane's.
Yeah, so I read the original. I read the newer colouring, but before I picked my page, I went back and checked out the original colourings to see if I wanted my page in the original colouring. This doesn't have that same feel as the new colouring. This doesn't have the, what Scott said, like just the presence of him. And it's more spooky and it's more scary when it's all dark. Like there's too much colour on those bottom three panels for me. I don't know.
I'm gonna have to defend it because if you look at the original panel or the original recoloring, like the yellow looks it pops a lot. It's like Sin City, but instead of like Sin City the movie, which is all black and white with a bit of yellow. But this just I think it looks better. Like it's just black and white and yellow.
Yeah, although, I think it looks.
It does look really good. The top part definitely.
I just love that it's more black and white. Yeah, I just love the Sin City feel of it. It's a lot more better there. We'll move on to yours, Phil.
Better.
No, yeah, like there's no this at all. It's better. So Chris has joined us. So hello, Chris, and he has said when Gordon's glasses are cracked and he picks up the baseball bat, close-up images. One of the most badass, stunning image going. The art is absolutely glorious on every panel. And then he talks about the page we've just looked at is when he bursts through the wall with the smoke and the rubble. How can anyone say the art is not good? It's beyond me.
Well, it's because you can't really see his face in that top panel. That's why it's good.
Right.
The faces aren't the best. Well, I agree, but
Yeah. Zoe Kravitz as well. That's the one. That's the actress. Okay, we will go on to Philip's page from the original.
Again, yeah, this is from the original, and this is more to do with the like the shadow. This is where the police force or the SWAT team are now in the building hunting down Batman. And obviously the purple is it's all going to be dark essentially, like the purple you see in that top panel, and also you have like the big spotlight shining through in the shadows. I just thought kind of like the aesthetic of this page is just really cool. And this wasn't the top pick, by the way, because the top pick's already been picked by other people. So I landed with this, but I just thought this was really cool. Like, again, just the kind of color of it and the kind of dark, gritty feel of the surrounding buildings and atmosphere. Shane looks fantastic. Even the detail and like the broken bits of wood and the chairs and the furniture and the bricks. And then even
I told you backgrounds are great. He's really good at backgrounds.
I think it's like I just love the art the whole way throughout. So yeah,
seeing that I can appreciate it, but I think I've just preferred the deluxe. I didn't even know that it was a different, it was colored differently until today. But like, I'm really glad I've read the new deluxe version.
I haven't read the deluxe. I think there's actually 4 different colorings of this. There's the original, and then there's like also the deluxe you referred to. But I think there's another one called the definitive coloring, where like Frank Miller and what's the order? Or who is it again? Mazzucchelli. They basically agreed to it. Like this is the definitive way we would expect it to have been if we had the chance to do it 20 years later. This is like 20 years after they've actually written the book, where techniques are different and printing's different or whatever, so they came together and they made a new edition that they both agreed should be the definitive edition. But I read the originals. I don't know what one the deluxe is, to be honest. That might be the definitive one. Who knows?
Maybe. Kevin is saying he loved Mazzucchelli's art. It's clean and clear. And then he's going, damn it, guys, for us saying that Freddie Mercury, the Freddie Mercury panel there. Sean, he read the original as well. And Highland G is saying, I have an old trade on newsprint like paper. Added to the feel for me, the new colouring is almost too clean for me. Something about the unpolished feel made it feel more like a year one, somewhat unfinished in a way.
Fair.
Okay, all right. We do have some viewer page picks as well. So people who read the book, they've sent us some picks. So we've got 2 from Kevin. Well, technically 3. So he says he really loved the drama in these pictures. So these pictures are all next to each other. So you got on the left there, you've got Bruce Wayne kind of bleeding out and trying to consider if he should call Alfred or not, and then you get to the origin, of his parents being murdered in the alley, and then straight after that, then we get the page with the bat bursting through the window. This was when I first saw this page, I was like, this is going to be my pick. This is great. And then later on, you see the page that I did pick, and I was like, nah, this trumps it. But this is such a cool page. It's very dramatic, and the bat coming out at you, it's very, when you turn the page, you're like, oh my god, that's in your face.
In the originals, this looks far better. I'm not. I'm just. It just looks far better in the originals, and that page there. I love the kind of idea that in the previous page that he didn't have his hand on the bell to ring Alfred. He was happy enough to bleed out. He'd given up at this point, and then obviously the bat came crashing in, and that's me rings little bell for Alfred to come save him. I love that. Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's a very cool page. There's a lot of meaning behind it as well. Blue Sonic sent us these pages of it's pretty much Batman's first fight, isn't it? Yeah. It was a bit clumsy. It wasn't his finest. But it was pretty cool.
Almost killed a guy by knocking him off the fire escape, and then he's got to hold him by a leg while everyone else pummels him. It was really entertaining to read that.
It was. What did you think, Phil, of that?
Yeah, to be fair, the second panel on the first page, that kind of Batman shape I didn't like. I don't know why. Like, it just looks really odd. That's the one aspect of Batman I didn't like, was the costume. And if you look at that second panel, it just like is. I know I get that he's crouching, he's come down with the cape and stuff, but it just looks slightly odd. But the page overall, it's cool. I love this part of the story, to be honest, where you just want to drop the guy and the TV's falling, and he kind of judges the distance. Yeah. From when the TV hits the ground and stuff. And these are just kids at the end of the day, weren't they? I think he mentioned like no older than 15.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But look at the horrendous narration. That's just.
Can't read it. Martin did say the reason he went for these is because he likes he likes how the fight is being told through Batman's thoughts, how he establishes his rules of not killing but also taking them down while keeping the young kid alive. Yeah, it's quite dramatic. It's very good. Then Connie has sent us this. She's cheated a little bit. Let me just get up what she said. So she asked me, she goes, is it cheating if it's 2 panels at the bottom of one page and the top of another page? I just liked how it looked. Yeah, so this is... I can't remember. What is that top panel?
Pass.
Okay. But yeah, it's great anyway. Connie liked this very much. This is hers. Thank you very much for picking this. And then we got one from Adam as well, from Comic Bound. He can't make it today, but he sent his score and a page pick through anyway. So this is his. And he did give a reason, didn't he? He says this perfectly captures the feeling of being stuck in traffic on a miserable rainy day. And that's great.
I do love rain in the book, to be honest.
Rain and snow you love, don't you?
Yeah, really do.
Is that one more as well?
Yeah, Tom just sent me one there. I tried to screen grab it, and it's like digitally, but I just took his picture. He sent me his picture off the actual book. Yeah, so Tom, who's in the chat, he mentioned that he likes the panel because it shows the pain and angst of Jim Gordon and what he's going through. And I think that's true. I mean, obviously his wife's there. She's pregnant. She's going through a lot herself, but he's kind of has this inner conflict, I suppose, doesn't he? And he said that page is really cool. And to be fair, I hadn't noticed the detail in the quilt cover before, which is like you don't need to include that, do you? Like they didn't need to do that.
Just because they're white, white duvet, yeah.
And what a choice of quilt cover. Well, it's like a tree and it's like a hen or something in that as well.
It's like a pheasant or a grouse.
Yeah, but no, like I say, it's just that you definitely see the conflict through the whole book that Gordon's going through, and I don't know if that hole in the gun is symbolizing something like darker tones as he contemplating something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, someone did say in the comments earlier on that Gotham changes everyone, even Jim Gordon. So maybe this was part of him just trying to battle with his own, morals. And
that adds to the story in terms of Batman and Gordon needing one another, because it's not just the idea of being able to beat the crime lords and the corrupt within the police force, but like they need each other for support too, because beforehand they were on their own. Now they have somebody with them, somebody to keep them going. So maybe that adds to that.
That did come out of nowhere though. Like the last page was like, what? Where was the build up to this? It just happened. It's like we need to finish the book quick. It jumped right at the end. It jumped to them being besties and
best friends.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I thought that was incredibly rushed.
What was it? At the end of issue 2 or something like that? Wasn't it just saying? There was something that was saying like Batman needs to become, acquaintances or friends with Jim Gordon, trying to get on his side. And when you learn that, you're like, oh cool, how's it going to happen? Is it going to be some something that brings them together? And I guess there was, maybe, with the whole baby saving situation, but I would have at least expected some sort of dialogue to initiate that kind of relationship between them. But yeah, there was just next page and that's it.
Like maybe an introduction, like Harvey Dent, because they had built up a rapport, Harvey Dent and Batman. So maybe Harvey Dent could have been like, right, I trust Jim Gordon, you trust Jim Gordon, let's bring him in, and the three of us will clean up Gotham together. But there was nothing. It was just like, quick, to the bat signal. And I was like, did I like get 10 pages stuck together? What happened?
What were you doing?
Certainly wasn't looking at that Catwoman.
Anyway.
Yeah. Joblock Comics did mention something earlier about the fact that this isn't a standalone story. It's part of the run because it's issues 404 to 407. And he said, this was not a graphic novel. It was just 4 issues in the regular run. Imagine picking this up and you pull this as an issue of Batman in context. These issues were just amazing. It would have been really interesting to have seen what was before and what was the reasoning to have these 4 issues between, like issue 403 and before, and 408 and after. Like, what happened before and after to warrant this?
Well, I think Crisis had happened 2 years before, Crisis on Infinite Earths. So they were in the stage of rebooting everyone's origin.
Right, okay.
So I think it was a way for them to, let's do a retelling of Batman's first year to get everyone sort of up to date who's going to be jumping into new comics now that there's a whole new universe to jump into.
Yeah.
Plus, I think, again, not knowing my full history of Batman, but for a lot of years, Batman was that kind of, that kind of campy atmosphere, the kind of Adam West stuff that we know. I think it was like Denny O'Neil and I forget the artist, who kind of brought Batman to kind of like the darker tone, the grittiness, and the kind of the Dark Knight kind of thing. And in the 80s, this is whenever like Frank Miller really took that off, and that's the Batman we know today. Like, but the best Batman for me is the kind of darker Batman. Otherwise, we can appreciate the older campy stuff. I just think the darker stuff's better, and I think maybe that's why they wanted a retelling of this origin, because they needed to move away from that style of Batman previously and enter the new era of Batman we have today.
Yeah. So we've touched on some of the story already, but do you have any more thoughts about it? Anything you want to say?
I just love the idea, the fact that with it being year one, with it being the origin essentially off Commissioner Gordon and off Batman, that it's very ground level. Like, it's not super powered villains or aliens. I think there was one reference to Superman. They were referred to someone flying on Metropolis.
Yeah.
But like, it's focused a lot on the real reason why Bruce Wayne became Batman. Like, his parents gunned down. He wanted to kind of rid the city of this crime, and it doesn't have to always be Joker or Two-Face or Riddler or whatever. It's not something that has like special powers. It's just ground level crime fighting at its best, and I think I really appreciated that. It makes it more real.
Yeah, no, I get it. We just see them both trying to find their feet.
Yeah,
in Gotham.
I really like the concept and the idea of it mirroring. It started with Jim Gordon coming into town on a train while Bruce is flying back to Gotham, and they arrive on the same day, and it's how are they now going to deal with Gotham? Bruce is now, what was it? Did they say he was gone for like 10 years? Was it he'd been gone for a long time. So this was now adult Bruce returning to Gotham with Jim Gordon, who has no idea what Gotham is like. How are they going to become who we know? I thought that was really, really well done to begin with. But then as soon as it sort of veered off and gave you too many pages of one and not enough pages of another, I think it would have been great had the entire book been that, like every page split down the middle, what they're doing on those days.
Yeah.
I think I would have enjoyed that a bit more, but there was just too much Jim Gordon stuff for me.
Right.
I think there wasn't enough. I actually think they could have left out Harvey Dent, to be fair, because they kind of need Harvey Dent really to put the criminals behind bars, but the Catwoman stuff could have done without that. I feel like they just wanted to throw her in. I don't think she adds any value to the book, really.
No, I was half expecting like someone to throw a newspaper down and like you see a purple glove or something, or a Joker card on the table, like just to tell us what's coming. They do mention the Joker, very much like the Batman Begins. Yeah,
well, that's the main the Catwoman thing. Unless they were planning future stories with this Catwoman, maybe this is a way to introduce her. But so she was getting jealous because Batman was getting all the kind of credit, if you want to call it that, for things she was doing, like robbing the the crime bosses and stuff, and he was getting the credit, and she hated that.
She got called his assistant, didn't she?
Yeah, that didn't need to be in there because there was no relationship between Catwoman and Batman. Like, apart from the part where he saved her, remember, which echoed from the movie as well, where he jumped down, saves her, and then disappears again.
I think it's because he's the first costumed person in Gotham, and then all of a sudden a female costume version or costume person shows up. So you kind of would think that they were connected in some way. It's too coincidental.
That's I don't see the value she adds to the story, to be honest. And like I say, unless they were planning something else, and I know there's a Batman Year 2, which I haven't read. I don't know if this is a direct sequel to that. I hear it's terrible, so maybe it's not.
Oh, right. Okay. Highland G's saying he thinks that we missed a chunk of Jim's story. 1 second he's getting a back massage. Next they were always fighting and he's a cheater. So we're going back to their relationship with Barbara. And he goes, there's a huge leap with no real explanation. He did say earlier on as well, the story does jump forward at a few parts without much explanation. And he also says
That's
maybe a few more
notes.
issues would have helped with pacing.
Yeah, one of my notes is the time jump. There's even one page where it's one panel and then the next panel is another day. It just jumped after just a single panel. And I was like, what is the point of adding that panel then? Why couldn't you have stretched it out into a page? Why
Maybe
do
just
that?
to show that nothing much was happening, but time was passing and I don't know. Everything's there for a reason, of course. They've got a reason to put it there, but why? I guess.
Yeah, I just found the time jumps to be a bit daunting because it was just happening. Like you'd be getting into a story and then all of a sudden it would jump and then you're supposed to just fill in the blanks. It's like, no, you're telling the story, you fill in the blanks.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I agree to an extent. It does jump and it did become a bit annoying. And I agree also that like we shouldn't have these spoon-fed information. Like we should be open to interpretation of what happens. But I wish we had had a little bit more. You know, don't give us everything, but just fill in some of those gaps. Just to kind of make it more fluid, I suppose, more linear story. So that was one of the negatives that I've also written down. But
yeah, I haven't really written much down, and I think that's a negative in itself. The fact that I've not written much. But let's talk about the fact why we're doing these Batman books. And it is because of the movie. First of all, before we start talking about the new movie, personally, I felt, and we've spoken about it before, there were some links with like Batman Begins. Especially at the end when they were like something about Joker and poisoning the river. That was just Batman Begins, but with Scarecrow instead. With poisoning. Was it that poisoning the water to get the hallucinogenic stuff?
Yeah. It was the It wasn't the river, but it was like the
water supply.
Water supply, yeah.
Yeah.
But also at the end of Batman Begins, he calls Batman to tell him about the Joker. So it did kind of feel the same at the end of this, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I felt like there were some vibes from this for that film, but then just by seeing the trailers and little bits about the new Batman film, I feel like a lot of stuff is gonna come from this book. Like we have Lieutenant Gordon, we have the Catwoman that looks really similar to the Catwoman in this book. I feel like a lot of it will be following this, and maybe Long Halloween as well.
The only difference being the fact that obviously the Riddler and Penguin are in the movie, but I don't know. There's still a lot of crime. Obviously, the Penguin is the kind of crime lord, I suppose, isn't he? Really, so that it is going to be kind of street level at the same time. I think, but I think there's a lot of out of all the Batman movies, there's a lot taken from this. I think, even the idea of the Flash. How do you pronounce his name? Flash. It's not.
Flash.
Flash.
Yeah.
So he's obviously like beating up cocaine dealers and so on like this here and taking money and doesn't like Gordon because he works for internal affairs, and that's how this book starts off really. Flash picks him up and tries to talk to him like this is what you need to do to kind of fit in here around here, and like all those kind of things are picked from this book as well for Batman Begins also. And but yeah, I'm really looking forward to the new movies, and because of the Catwoman design in this, I don't like the Catwoman design in the movie. I don't know why.
Right.
I also need to watch the movie to make my mind up properly, but it's just something about the Catwoman's putting me off.
Right.
I don't like any of the designs for the characters in the new movie. I don't like any of them at all. I mean, I'm going to see it on Friday, but I don't like any of the designs. I don't know. I hope they're just like the first one, and then by the end of the movie, they've all got something a little bit better.
So do you think you're going to go into it with already a bad footing or low expectations?
No, I'm going to go into it with no expectations, and then the only way is up.
You can only go up. Exactly.
I'm the same because of I think it's supposed to emo Batman. That's one thing I'm not looking forward to.
I I just don't want to see him walk into the sunlight and start sparkling.
No, I really rate our bats. I'm calling him because I think he's gonna be really
Robert
good at it.
Patterson.
Yeah, our bats.
The name,
Robert Patterson.
it's right
Patton.
there. Robert Patterson.
Yeah, I think he's going to be really good. I mean, you obviously don't like him because he played Edward. Is that Edward
Yeah.
in the Twilight?
I haven't watched the Twilight movie.
Well, how do you know he's going to walk into the
You're missing
sunset
out,
and
mate.
sparkle?
Because he's just a terrible actor.
He's not. He's fantastic.
He is.
And
He's
he
good in Tenet.
he is good in Tenet.
Very
He's really
good
good in Tenet. Yeah, I would like that. But I think he's going to be fantastic as Batman. But at the same time, I don't like the whole emo look. And I think Colin Farrell as Penguin's going to be great. And Paul Dano as the Riddler is going to be great. I just think the cast, even the guy who's playing Gordon, I forget his name, but he was in the James Bond movies. Passing the name, but I think it's going to be fantastic.
Oh, I'll give it a go.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just showing all the comments about how everyone is looking forward to the film. But
The Lighthouse, you need to watch The Lighthouse. That's the one that he's fantastic.
we do have some comments trying to justify the whole jumping through dates and stuff. So Shauna says they're trying to get the 1 year into 4 issues, so jumping time was needed. And Mark is saying, come on, you don't need to be spoon-fed. When the story jumps, you fill in the gaps. It's more interesting.
Yeah, but when you're paying for a story, you want the whole story. It's more interesting. No, I understand. I understand not being spoon-fed, but then I think what they could have done, I know that it was year 1, so maybe have each book, 3 months, 3 months, 3
like
months.
a season.
Yeah, so you have him in spring, you have him in fall, and then that way you don't have to keep saying it's January 12th, it's or April 2nd. You just have a nice fluid story of what he's doing. I think the jumps that got me were the ones that were jumping on the same page. That's what annoyed me, I think, when there were time jumps on one page.
It's like the Catwoman part. So it was the date, and Catwoman all of a sudden gives up her ways of being a sex worker and goes and gets a costume, and then that's like 2 panels, and that's a different date with a different character. And the next page, you have Catwoman again with her new kind of line of work, and another date of a different character. It was a little jump and forth where
a little bit jarring.
if you had the whole Catwoman part together, like getting her new costume and becoming Catwoman, that would be a bit easier. To
like a montage type thing.
Just if you, I don't get the reason why they cut it up in so many different bits, pretty much.
Yeah. Connie is saying though, she needs to be spoon-fed. She likes a lot of detail in her books. She wants to know everything. She doesn't want to have to think too much about when she's reading a book. So again, there's 2 sides of that coin, isn't there? And then Chris has said he quite likes the fact they didn't waste time with the over-exposition. Him behind Harvey's desk hiding is a perfect way of establishing loads with little, for example.
Yeah.
And I get that.
Yeah, because they released the prisoner that Gordon was outraged by. They granted bail, didn't they? But then Batman wanted to attack the prisoner. Not attack them, but get him to talk, essentially, and spill more information type of thing. So if he was held in prison or in jail, he would have been got to by the crime bosses. So the fact that Dent and Batman were working together was great. And you didn't need to have that explained to you because it was all on the page with some fantastic artwork.
Wait a minute.
You got me to nod.
You both agreed.
That just shows we weren't listening.
You tricked me.
Right. So I don't really know. I'm at this point now where I don't know what else to say. I'm not sure this bodes well when I get to that point when we're talking about a book. Guy, anything more in your notes? Nope.
Nope. I've gone through everything. Batman part's great. Gordon stuff boring. Time jumps daunting. Hated Catwoman. Yeah, I've checked everything off my list.
Fair. You must be reading a lot there.
I'm just gobsmacked that you didn't like the arcs. I really thought you would. I mean, like I say, you like mind management, so.
Like the story.
Yeah, but I just think. Go ahead.
I should have liked the art because this is from like my beginning of reading comics. You know, like when like my comics go back to the late 80s, my comic collection. So I should have liked this. But this is 2 years after Crisis on Infinite Earths, and the art is just night and day. Like I know it's a completely different artist. I'm not saying it's the same person, but the style changed. And
do you not think though that this kind of style is like almost like the Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips kind of relationship? Like it is a crime noir start and end story and has that kind of feel about it, like a kind of pulpy feel that it's going to be released in the 30s and
yeah,
look fantastic.
I totally agree with you that it does fit this story. It does fit the Jim Gordon parts of this story. For me, I don't think it fits the Batman parts of this story. For me personally,
Mark had a favourite line in this story. He said, "He's out to clean up a city that likes being dirty." He says that's such a great line, and reading it like that, it does sound great.
That is an awesome line.
It is a good line. Yeah, I'm really struggling to carry on talking about this book. So if you guys are done as well, we can go into final thoughts and scores.
It's just that I suppose that Frank Miller, I mean, in today's age, I mean, he doesn't hit the same level of work if he gets it. Obviously, Frank Miller's quite a polarizing character, isn't he? Because some of his views don't really fit in with today's age, really, I suppose. But I just think this is in the 80s, and I just thought this is way ahead of its time as well. I thought it was fantastic. But not to kind of bring the tone down a bit, but there was a touch of racism in this book. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, a little.
And obviously misogyny with the cheating of his wife and so on, and that's what Frank Miller's kind of being booted out of comics for, really, is his kind of views and stuff.
I will say there was equality as well, because when Selena Kyle tried to go toe-to-toe with Bruce Wayne, he did knock her on her ass. So he didn't hold back because she was a girl. So there's your equality in 1987. Well done.
Nice.
Yeah, I just like that.
I think Connie agreeing with you a little bit there. She says Frank Miller can be a little bit hit or miss, but this was a hit in terms of story for Connie. Great. And Highland G saying he likes the bits when they are trying to figure out what Batman is. The strange poses of Batman, I think, are a way of him keeping the human part of him hidden.
Ooh, I didn't even think about that, but yeah,
he was
like
sense. Like in the picture that you and I chose, he's very hunched and he's got his cape out and it's all dark and he doesn't look quite human. And I think I did quite like the part as we got further in through the book. Batman kind of made himself more into a myth where he was like, you can't hurt me, nothing hurt me, bullets don't hurt me, but I know pain, and when I want to, I can share that pain with people I like. And I thought that was really cool and quite a powerful moment from him there.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, the writing was good. The writing was great. I'm
Yeah.
not downing on the writing at all. I'm just saying, for me, the Jim Gordon parts were a little bit slow and a little bit boring.
See, in regards to pacing, okay, so I thought, again, start to finish, it kept me interested the whole time, and I thought the pacing was really good. But when I was reading the Jim Gordon stuff, I was definitely reading it slower, but like purposely slower,
as if it was supposed to be.
Yeah, like in a good way, like it's like a real enjoyable thrill. If it's like a movie, like a real thriller, like a kind of like suspenseful thriller. Like the part with Jim Gordon, by the way, which we never touch on, being in the was he ex-military, and he takes on 4 guys himself, and he does pretty well before they get the better of him. I thought Jim Gordon was a badass in this book. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Just
that scene was great because he's like, he realized they were distracting him over there because someone was going to attack him from behind, and I thought, yeah, that did show.
And the part where he stalked him at the bar and then follows Flash out the end and then have a fight, and he throws him the bat. It's like, you take the bat.
Yeah,
he's so good. I thought Jim Gordon was written really well in this whole thing, and it was quite slow for me, but like in a good way. Like I wanted it to be slow.
I did enjoy. I think for me, I thought it was quite a clever moment when, towards the end where his baby was kidnapped in it, but he was called by the commissioner to leave and go to something, and then while he's driving out, you see the motorcyclist drive past him, and as a reader, I thought that was the bad guy that was going to kill Barbara and everything, and then you realise that it is actually Bruce Wayne.
It was great.
He was going to fight. So I quite enjoyed that kind of little, I don't know, that mental ride that Frank Miller took us on to go, ooh, bad guy, ooh, actually, good guy, cool.
Yeah, because Bruce Wayne was listening to the tape recording, wasn't he? And they referred to blackmail. Like, he's going to blackmail somebody. He's going to have something over somebody else to get the better. But then obviously, as Gordon was leaving, he's kind of thinking in his mind, "Hang on, it's like a bog standard, like, arrest would make me do. Like, what's going on? It's clear as day." And then they both at the same time realize it, and they're both at the way back. I thought that was great. Loved that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, there was definitely some awesome, cool moments in this story. But I think now this is a good time to do thoughts and scores.
Yeah.
How does that look? Okay, cool. Guys,
Good.
you know how this works now. If you've read the book, give us a score. We'll add it on to ours and we'll get a final score. So with that said, Shane, would you mind please kicking us off?
So, like I've said, I really enjoyed the writing. I really enjoyed the concept. Like, the idea of this book is great. Jim Gordon's first year in Gotham versus Bruce's first year, I thought it was fantastic. I didn't so much like the execution. I like Jim Gordon as a character. I mean, I've got like solo books with him in, you know, because I really enjoy the character of Jim Gordon. But in this, I didn't like him. I know he did some really badass things, you know, tying up his partner naked in the woods. That's quite funny. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I thought, what a great way to punish this absolute horrible police officer. I really love the Batman parts though. Like, that was great. Him failing. You don't see Batman fail enough in books, you know, so to see him try and he's not the best at everything. You just don't get that nowadays. He has to be the best of the best. He could beat all the Justice League. He could beat Thanos. He could beat Darkseid by himself. He could do whatever he wants. But here, he couldn't even take out like 4 kids on a fire escape. I thought it was fantastic. And then when he's in the building, and the bit that broke my heart is when they bomb the place and he sees like the homeless guy catching fire and he realizes he can't save him. And just that moment when Batman realizes he cannot save everyone, even though like that's his mission. His mission is to save everyone and he can't do it. I thought that's fantastic. And that is what Batman needs. And I really, really love it. So I'm really torn with scoring this book because I really like the colors in the updated version as opposed to the original. Not a massive fan of the art. The writing is great, but I didn't enjoy the Jim Gordon parts, but I love the Batman parts. So my score is like all over the place. It's really, yeah. So I think mostly for the Batman parts, for the bits that I enjoyed, I'm not going to give too negative a point deduction for the parts I didn't enjoy, because the bits I did enjoy, it helped me forget about the bad parts. So I'm going to give this, I mean, I have upped my score from what I've got written down. So I'm going to give this a 7. Okay.
That's with an upped score.
That's with an up score.
What was it going to be?
I have 6.5 on my card there.
Okay,
you can't see it. My light's too bright, but yeah.
All right.
I have to be fair.
We got a lot of up and down scores coming in as well from you guys, so that's cool. Phil, go ahead and let us know what you think.
Okay, so I'll serve my likes. I love the parallels between Batman and Gordon. The fact that they're marrying one another, arrived in Gotham at the same time, and they realize they really do need each other to really conquer what they need to conquer. It's a very real street level story, which I loved. It's definitely dark, noir, gritty. Like I say, if this was Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, it would fit right in. I thought it was perfect to kind of fit in that kind of genre. Again, we know Batman to be the kind of dark, gritty character he is. So this maybe is the start of that kind of era where it kicked all that off. And I think year one is this is now widely known to be the main origin story. It is a retelling, but I think a lot of people refer to this as being the ultimate origin of Batman. Art, whilst it isn't clean, it's brilliant. It's marvelous. It looks great. Apart from, I don't like Batman, the design, and I don't like Catwoman. The faces I can let slide because they're not great, but they fit the story. But I just didn't like the Batman in costume, and I didn't like Catwoman either in costume or not in costume. She's just, her shoulders were bigger than mine, and I was jealous. The handwriting or the handwriting narration was brutal. It didn't need to be that. I don't see why that it had it. It didn't add anything. It didn't make it more. I mean, apart from maybe thinking it was like Bruce Wayne writing in his diary or something, it didn't really add anything. Just have normal writing that we could all read, and we all agree on this. Like it was bad that way. Overall, I thought it was a really well crafted story. The fact that they both did come together at the same time, it kept my interest. It's one of those iconic stories of Batman that we all love, and I've read this a couple of times. I will read again. It's worth a reread, but I am definitely being more nitpicky this time. Could have done like Catwoman, Harvey Dent. Apart from that part where, Batman was hiding behind the desk, didn't really add anything either. I'm torn as well, and the reason why I'm torn because I think that my favorite ever book is The Dark Knight Returns. That's my number one book of all time. This isn't there, so I need to kind of lower the score enough to fit that in, But I'm giving this an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Nice.
8 out of 10. Just had one more score there. 8 out of 10 from you. Cool, great. We've had... Go on.
I was going to say, if I offend anybody again, because I've offended Pete from Triple G for Kingdom Come, I've offended everyone for Kingdom Come.
Oh, no, that's okay, because Pete gave it an 8, so that's fine.
I don't want to let anyone else down, It's just...
Yeah, right. So, let's just go through everyone's scores at the moment. So we did have one before the show from Adam. He couldn't come, so he did say, I didn't see what the fuss was about years ago when I read it, but really appreciate it a lot more now, especially the art. Expertly condensed storytelling, packed so much into 4 issues. 9.5 from him.
Wow.
So that's what Adam gives. So thank you very much. We've noted that down there. And then we've got the comments from you guys. So Connie, it's a 6.5 from me. I'm still waiting to be wowed by a Batman-centric book. It hasn't quite happened yet. Okay.
I got you, don't worry, I'll send you a book.
Job Comics, 10. Straight up. No reason, just because it's a 10. Triple G, 8 for me. Sean, writing in the book was great. Lettering left a lot to be desired. The cursive. Art not great, just in his opinion, but worked okay for the story in parts. Overall, a solid Batman story, 7.5. Awesome. Mark gave it an 8.5. Highland G gave it a 7. Too many holes in the story. Tom gave it a 7 as well. Kev gave it a 10. The art is great. The story is great. That's it.
So it's great then, is it?
Yeah, it's just great. Chris says there is no doubt in my mind that there is not a panel wasted. It redefined Batman and Jim as characters, and they are still essentially those two today. The art is noir, minimalistic, and atmospheric. 10 out of 10. Awesome. We've got Liam as well. As I said, it's been a while since I've read the book, so feel free to not include my score. But I remember being a bit disappointed overall by the year 1 stuff, and I generally love Batman. 6.5.
The way you went down at the end, Scott, made that sound really sad. I genuinely love that.
That's how I read it. Have we had a score from mine? No, not yet. I really enjoyed this from start to finish. I liked the art and the writing was amazing. I would 100% reread this again in the future. 8.5 from him. Wow, right.
See, just like Kingdom Come, I think this is the kind of iconic story that you benefit from a reread. Like the more you read this, the more you'll appreciate it. Like a fine wine, it ages wonderfully. Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's see if I reread it again, or Shane rereads it again, maybe it'll get a higher score. So my score, I really enjoyed, seeing how, Batman and Jim Gordon began, and that's it. No, I'm joking. No, like the cool part about being the host and doing this last is that I can pretty much repeat what you guys have said. It was gritty, it was noir, it was dark, it was cool. It had that kind of crime aspect to it. I can appreciate the fact that the art works with the theme of the story, but it didn't quite work with me. The costumes, like Phil said earlier, they were a bit hit and miss. There's nothing you can say about how Jim Gordon was dressed because it was just a normal detective and that was fine. And yeah, the Batman narration, the cursive there was just so hard to read. And it kind of took me out the flow a little bit as well. Trying to figure out what was being said, and I just couldn't. It just took me in and out of the story a little bit. But really cool story. Yeah, I liked how it all came together at the end and how they are pretty much best friends and how they are still kind of those characters even today. because of this story as well, like Chris said earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a 7.5.
Nice.
Smack bang in the middle between you boys. Right.
There's
So
a good spread there for
it is.
everybody, isn't it?
It's a great spread. So so our lowest score was 6.5. We had 2 of them, and then we've had 3 10s. So, you know, we had 12 scores today, and ours has 15 scores altogether. So, you know, and we've had 3 10s out of them. So, with all of your guys' scores, that averaged to 8.3 altogether. So thank you very much for that. And then adding that onto Shane's 7, Phil's 8, and my 7.5, this gives us a grand score of 7.7.
Nice.
So there we go. Let's go ahead and see. Did it hit the top 10? It does.
Ooh.
Joint 6th with Something Is Killing the Children.
Ooh.
And just for everyone else as well, this is what the rest of the leaderboard looks like. There we go.
Huh.
All right, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I scored higher than 7.7, but not by much. Scored an 8.
No.
I honestly, last week I was thinking, because I know that this is iconic, and I thought likes of, you know, people in the chat who give it a 10. I thought they would give it a 10 or close to a 10.
Yeah.
So I kind of expected you guys to be higher as well. Not so much 10s, but high enough. But then keeps me in top spot. So what am I complaining about?
You made sure you kept that top spot with Kingdom Come. Don't worry, Phil. We know how you're playing the game.
You know what you're talking about.
Right. Thank you very much, everyone. Now we're going to go ahead and tell you what we've got coming up next week to conclude our Batman month. Come on then, Phil, as this was your pick, what are we reading for the podcast listeners?
This is a good, healthy 13-issue story, Batman, The Long Halloween.
So for everyone who likes to read along, start quickly. I usually start my Nerdhood reading on a Monday, but I will be starting tomorrow to get this read in time. So there we go.
It's a one-off. We're celebrating the release of the new movie. We're getting into the hype of it. This is very much these are the books you have to read really to kind of enjoy the movie, I believe. So can't wait. Looking forward to it. It could be 26 issues and I'd still read it.
And if people don't have time, watch the 2 animated movies that make up The Long Halloween so you don't get lost when we talk about it next week.
Yeah, great. And also for next week, don't forget, guys, we are doing Herd's Choice. So do make sure you bring your picks. We would love it if we continued the whole Batman thing. But, you can choose what you want. So that is there as well. Phil?
I was going to say, I mean, there's Batman Hush. That's definitely a good pick. But ideally, if you don't make it 13 issues again, like 2 weeks of 13 issues is like a bit too much.
No,
all
that's a one-off.
Issues, Mark is saying. Sean is saying, Jesus, Phil, 13 issues. Connie, 13?
That's a weekend.
I think...
Just don't go out drinking this weekend. Just stay in and read a book. Come on.
Yeah. And then we have a very late happy birthday from Sean as well for you, Phil, last week.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
But yes, that's it from us. There's only one more thing to do, and that is to get our waves out.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
See you next week. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Love you.